Hello and welcome to the Cookston Crafts Podcast. My name is Claire and I run Cookston Crafts from my home in Aberdeenshire. I produce hand-dyed yarn like you see behind me and also teach craft classes as well. The podcast is few and far between. There aren't that many episodes and I just tend to come on here every now and again, update you all on what's going on behind the scenes in the business and also to give some ideas of inspiration and projects that you might want to try yourself. I know that when I've asked people for feedback, that kind of is what people enjoy. It's seeing the makes that I've been working on. So today I'm going to update you on lots of small projects really. I don't have anything big that I've been working on. I've got one larger project that's kind of been put on hold and I'll explain a little bit more about that as we go through this morning's chat. Apologies if my voice gets a little bit croaky. I've not been well recently and I'm feeling much better, but it's still hanging around there. I've also just finished the March treat box. So for anyone that doesn't know, the treat box is a really big part of my business. It came about almost 4 years ago now, I think. So the idea is that once every 2 months you will get some yarn sent to you in the post based on an image. So I've got the March one here that I'll show you the image. I don't want to spoil the surprise, but the image this time was of these, now I hope I pronounce it right, nacreous clouds that appeared on Christmas Eve. So it was really magical, it was lovely, it was like Santa had come to visit on Christmas Eve, and I snapped away some pictures and instantly I'm thinking, ooh, dye pots, what colours could I use to recreate these kind of colours? So the yarn is inside the box and accompanied with lots of other small treats from small businesses. I do have some extras, so they are on the website if you want to go and check them out. I only have the 4-ply finger and weight yarn available, but you can go on and have a wee look at that, and they're ready to go now, so you would get them within the next few days. The treat box is a subscription product, so the next, if you were interested in a new subscription and a wee treat to yourself every 2 months, then you can sign up, and if you signed up now, your first box will actually come to you at the end of May. I find that once every 2 months seems to be quite a nice balance. It's not every month, so you're not completely overwhelmed with yarn. But one of the things I think that a lot of people ask is, do you have any tips or advice on what to use 1 or 2 skeins with? So today's episode is probably really useful for those of you who are looking for a smaller project. I don't think I've done that on purpose. I don't know. I go through phases, I guess, of having big projects and then lots of small ones. So the big project that I was working on at the start of December, because that is how long it's been since I've recorded a podcast, is this sweater 44. So it's Vester by Kria, is the pattern designer, and I absolutely love it. This is knitted with the 4-ply finger and weight yarn from my Advent from last year. It was based around Ellen Castle Gardens, which is the town that I live in, and we have these beautiful castle gardens that you can walk around, walled gardens, and I drew inspiration from lots of the flowers in the flower bed, some of the castle walls. There were a few greys actually that I haven't included in this because it wasn't really contrasting against this colour, which was pearl. So I'm really pleased with it. Love the body. I think it's one that I will wear a lot. I think I'll probably wear that to shows because it's quite eye-catching as well. But I started the sleeve and I just haven't been happy with it. So it has been set aside until I decided what I was going to do. Part of the reason for that is I find when I'm knitting sleeves, I like to use a short circular rather than double pointed needles. And sometimes my tension can be a little bit tighter on the short circular. So I went up half a size, and actually maybe a quarter of a size. I think it was a 3.75mm needle, the body being on 3.5mm. but I can see it's just, the tension's just not right, and I'm not happy with it. So I decided to take it off the needles. I used one of these cords, the plastic cords, which are really handy to put live stitches on, and I actually wet blocked it to see if my tension issues would even out and see what I think, but I'm not. I'm going to take it out. I've got lots of yarn left as well. This was a 10 gram fingering weight advent. And I think I'm definitely on my second ball of the pearl colourway. If that gives an indication of how much yarn you would need. I'm not sure what size I'm knitting, to be fair. Maybe the 38 inch. Not 100% sure. I would need to check my pattern notes, I'm afraid. But yeah, I'm going to take out the sleeve and I'm going to pick up the stitches again and start again on a 3.5mm needle. Now, I really don't mind that process. I know that, there's a lot of people complain about frogging and things, but I think if you've invested so much time in your project, you really want it to be right. Otherwise, you end up with a garment that you just don't wear and that you'll always feel unhappy with when you're wearing it as well. So I think it's worthwhile, take it out and start again. As I say, I do have other yarn set aside for this. So because I have wet blocked this, the yarn will be really crinkly, and that can also affect tension when I re-knit with it. So I probably wouldn't use this yarn again, but I'll keep it aside, and if I need it, I can wet that and stretch out and make sure that it's not too curly and kinky when I'm working with it. So yeah, it's a bit of a task, and that's why it's been set aside. I do have in mind, though, that I would like to finish this over the Easter holidays because I will be launching the 2024 Advent calendar. I can't believe that's come round so quickly. I like to launch them in April so that people get time to pay them up if they want to. I did that last year and it worked really well. It worked just like the treat boxes, so a subscription product. And once you've signed up, you don't need to do anything else. It will just come off once every month. You can, of course, opt to pay for it all up front if you want to as well. That's absolutely fine, but it's nice to be able to give the option, isn't it? I haven't fully decided on the bases. I usually tend to try and keep the Advent simple because it can be quite an overwhelming project. Simple is good when you're dealing with huge quantities, but I think I maybe will consider a different yarn base. I usually do double knit and 4-ply or fingering weight, and I usually just do the 75-25, so 75% merino, 25% nylon. But I think a few people would appreciate a different yarn base, so I'm going to look into that and price that up. At the moment, I think the launch will be the 6th of April. And I'll tell you guys first, I haven't properly launched the images or the mood boards or anything for the 2024 Advent, but I'm going to add a little inspo image here. So it's going to be based on succulents this year. I really enjoyed dyeing up lots of floral colours for this one, and I'm thinking it won't be quite as bright and vivid, rainbow-like. It won't be quite as rainbow-like as this one. But I really was drawn to those kind of colours of nature and succulents, so that's what it's going to be based on this year. I also, before I finish up talking about the Advent, I wanted to show you an image of Dawn, who very kindly pops in and helps me from time to time. Dawn wearing her beautiful Tolsta tee, which I will add here. So Dawn knitted the Tolsta again with the 4-ply yarn, but with long sleeves, and I think it's so effective, it's so colourful, and I just absolutely love it. So if you have knitted with your Advent, please send me pictures. Lots of people like to get ideas of what to do with an Advent, so it can be really useful. I'll try and collate all of those and do a social media post on that. So once I decided to set aside the Vester by Crea, the Sweater 44 project, I felt the need to cast on something small. It kind of coincided with the arrival of this book. Beautiful book, 52 weeks of accessories. And when I had a flick through, there was one pattern in particular that I was drawn to instantly, and I cast it on, and needless to say, a couple of nights, a couple of evenings, and this was finished. So it's a little headband with a wee twist at the front, and it's brioche. Brioche knitting with a little bit of shaping. So there are some increases and decreases, I think. But I love the wave effect that you get with it. It just kind of naturally appears from the knitted piece of work. This is a hand-dyed double knit yarn. I think it was the tweed base because it's got these little neps through it. So it was one that I've had in stash for a long time from a few years ago. This is not a yarn base that I stock, but it'd be great for any double knit. And I think you could probably hold it with a fluff as well to make it extra cozy. So this one is called Fluid. I will add the pattern details down below, and I think I used probably about 30 or 40 grams of yarn, so really not a lot at all. It would be a nice quick speedy project, perfect for gifting as well, I thought. So that was one project that was just really satisfying and off the needles fairly quickly. So after that Speedy Headband project, I then moved on to some baby things. We've had lots of little babies recently, which is lovely, and I love nothing more than gifting a little baby knit. So my kid's bus driver became a granddad, and I decided to knit a little hat and mittens. And I used the Petunia yarn, which was the treat box yarn from a few months ago. I had a spare skein of double knit, and I'm just looking at the pattern details here. It was the Pearl Soho garter ear flap hat. I did do it with no garter stitch, but it's really easy to adapt, and I think that pattern is actually written for Aran weight yarn, but I did it with double knit and it comes out kind of newborn sized. So I used the same numbers and everything, I just adapted it a little to use the yarn that I had already. So that was a really sweet little gift, and I did some mittens to go alongside them. My next baby project was a larger project for one of my best chums who's just become a grandma, which makes me feel really old. And I said I would crochet a baby blanket. Now, I almost always, will make a baby blanket from cotton. I'm going to show you the one that I used this time. So it's this Stylecraft Naturals Organic Cotton. Now, I will admit, I bought this to go in beginner's crochet sets a few years ago. But I don't like it. I'm just going to say it's a beautiful yarn. Once it's been crocheted up, it would knit up beautifully. And I'm often asked at beginners classes, can you crochet with any yarn that you can knit with? Absolutely, any yarn goes. But this particular one, what I would say with cotton is, oh God, all the yarn bar falling out of here. With cotton is that it can be quite splitty. And this one, the twist in it, means that you can catch your crochet hook in it. So for beginners, it's not the best. I realised that pretty quickly when it arrived, and I'd ordered heaps of it for beginners kits. So I'm kind of in the process of using it up for other projects. Fine once you're comfortable holding the crochet hook and things, and if you're aware of that it can be splitty, but I'm not going to say it's a very enjoyable crochet. So, sorry, Stylecraft. That said, I changed it out for their bamboo cotton, which I'll grab a ball of just now. For the beginners kits now, I instead use this one. the Stylecraft Naturals bamboo and cotton, and it's a much tighter twist. It's so much easier for beginners. It's not splitty, and I like the stitch definition that you get as well. So that's why I always use cotton for crochet classes, because you get that crisp stitch definition and it's easier to see where you pop your hook. So as I said, I've just finished up a batch of beginners crochet classes, which has been really great. Lovely to have people in. That's how the business started years ago. 9 years ago now. It's just coming up for my 9th business birthday, which I can't quite believe. So it's been really nice to have crochet beginners back in and just see that instant boost that people get when they've learned something new. So that's been really nice. I then also knitted the Anchors onesie, and I'll pop a picture of it up here, for the same baby with the crochet blanket. I just thought it was absolutely adorable. I was sent a picture of him wearing that outfit and it's just so sweet. Lovely. I used a single skein of Cloud, which is like an icy blue kind of colourway that I dye, but I didn't have enough. I did that thing where you just don't have quite enough yarn to finish. So I either had a few options. I could try and re-dye it, but because it's been quite some time, the dye powders that I would have used, they'll be the same ones. I follow the same recipe, but the formulation might have changed. It's a different dye batch, different powder. So it's then very difficult to recreate, even when you're measuring down to like micrograms, which is what I try to do. So I dyed one as close as I could and then faded in just for the cuffs where the ribbing kicked in, for the legs and the sleeves, and you would never know. Where there's that difference, you know, it's a kind of different texture from the stocking stitch to the rib, it's less obvious. So that's what I did to finish that up. And then one final baby knit that I made recently. Again, I don't have any of these because I've gifted them all, but I've got a picture that I can show you. This is Pure Pyrium. It's a pattern that I've knitted time and time again. It's such a lovely, bit modern kind of baby knit with the buttons that are offset on the side, which means it's easier to get on and off a little baby as well. So I did this one with Aran weight yarn, and I used some of the Valentine's yarn, the Valentine's colourway that I had done, because it was such a lovely vibrant red, and the little baby was called Scarlet, so I thought it was very fitting, and a little hat to go with it as well. So there have been quite a few short satisfying makes recently, and I decided that I would, rather than start anything else, I would go back and have a look through and see if there was anything that I could finish up. So I've pulled out this one, and this is what's actively on the needles at the moment. This is the So Faded pint-sized. Yeah, there's the front. I used the numbers for the So Faded for my daughter, but I haven't done the garter section on the sleeves. I've just made it plain stocking stitch, and then I've also introduced a stripe of the Suri alpaca, which is lovely and soft. So this is actually yarn that my daughter dyed herself. Usually she can be a little bit heavy on the speckles and we end up with mud. But with this one, I think she's done a really good job. You can kind of see the speckling along the bottom rib section here. So she's really chuffed with it. She keeps asking, is it finished? Is it finished? So I just have started one of the sleeves. So that's not going to take too long. Over the next week or so, I'll work on that. And I guess because she is growing all of the time, I really need to focus on that, or it's not going to fit her this summer. I'm growing too fast. Gosh, I feel like I'm churning through all of these different projects, haven't I? But hopefully it's giving lots of inspiration of makes that you can do with one skein. I recently finished a pair of socks for my mother-in-law, again from this book, from 52 Weeks of Accessories, and they were called the Anthea socks, a really beautiful toe-up sock I'll add a picture of them. And I took that with me when we went on holiday. We went to Rome to watch the rugby, which was fantastic, even though it rained the whole time we were there. Never mind, we won't go over that. But I enjoyed knitting these socks, picking them up and doing a few rows here and there. It was just lovely to chill out and be away from home. So I gifted them to my mother-in-law for Mother's Day, and also to say thank you because she held the fort here with the children when we were away. So that was great fun. And I'm quite chuffed that I managed to do 2 socks as well. When I take a project away with me and I don't have any other distractions, I don't have anything else that I can potentially pick up, that keeps me on track. So I cast on the second one while I was away and finished it when I returned. While I was away, I did try to find a yarn shop. I always try to look for a yarn shop when I'm on holiday. I love a wee memento of where I've been, and I was lucky enough to find one shop bang in the city centre. It was teeny tiny. I actually walked past it a couple of times, but the lady in there was just adorable. She was lovely. I obviously don't speak much Italian, so yeah, the shopkeeper was so helpful, and we managed with the language barrier to get the gist of what it was that I was looking for. And they actually had a huge range of Rowan yarn, but I thought, I don't want to buy Rowan when I can buy that in the UK. I'd really like some Italian yarn. So I asked for that, and she brought down a beautiful card, sample card of all of these different cashmere yarns, and it was like I was like a kid in a sweetie shop. I decided to go for this one, which is the colourway. It doesn't actually have the name on it. It's Cashmere Classic, Cardiff Cashmere. So it's a double knit weight yarn, and it's a little bit redder than I thought in the shop. I thought it was a bit more fuchsia pink. I'm considering potentially holding a strand of pink mohair through it just to kind of bring out the pinker tone. Or I have ordered some double knit cashmere blend undyed yarn, and I was considering potentially pairing it with a pink, maybe not that tone, that colour, and doing something striped maybe. What do we think? So the sample that they had in the shop was the Sophie scarf, which was lovely, and it would feel beautiful against my skin. And I have 4 balls of this, so I would get a decent sized shawl out of it. 112 metres, but I don't know, I think I want it to be a sweater, something really bright and colourful. I have one more knitty project to share with you, and this is a little bit of a wild one. I wasn't sure whether this would work or not, but it does. If you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen, and this one has gone a little bit crazy. It's been viewed so many times, I don't know, I've kind of lost count. I wondered, you can probably see, I wondered a few months ago even, would it be possible to knit a QR code? And you can. So I used a free QR code generator, linked it up to my website, and produced the QR code. And then I used some graph paper to kind of chart it out. And I knitted a QR code. So every square, I decided it was going to be quite small. And what I was thinking was it would be nice to have on display at shows so that people can go online. A lot of the time people will inquire about treat boxes, and they can then scan this and go straight to the website. You can also sign up to the newsletter on there as well. So I thought it would be really cool, a cool way, and just a talking point really, to be able to scan this at shows and see if it works. I will admit it didn't work initially, and I thought, oh no, I've done all this work and it hasn't worked. I needed to wet block it at the end just to kind of straighten up edges and things before it would be recognised. But I was so pleased when it worked. I couldn't quite believe it. Yeah, so that's been quite fun. I will have this with me for my upcoming show at Galashiels, Tangled at Galashiels, at the end of May. I went last year, it was their first show, and it was lovely. I think it really helps when the weather is nice as well. You've got like fond memories of it. Lovely people, so friendly, and I'm thoroughly looking forward to taking part again this year. I can't wait. I'm hoping to have some new colourways with me as well, as well as some of the classic kind of colours. It's been a wee while since I've done a collection as such, and I'm not quite sure when that will be. But for those of you who can't get to a yarn show, I want to let you know that I'm going to be having an open day on Saturday, the 20th of April. I always open on a Wednesday. To visitors, you can come and go as you please between 10 and 4 every Wednesday, but I know that that's not convenient for everyone. So I decided to open up on a few Saturdays throughout the year, this one being the first one of the year. So feel free to come along. I have asked that people book a time slot. It's a free time slot. You don't have to pay for it, but it just helps me manage numbers and more for car parking as well. It just keeps the flow going rather than everyone arriving all at the same time, which we've had in the past. I am hoping to run some free demos throughout the day as well. I'm going to try and take a pan over and do a dye demo, and then maybe do some knitting techniques as well. We'll see how it goes. It really depends on how many people come. Wow, I feel like I've completely bombarded you with lots of different project ideas and things, but that's just the way that life has been at the moment. I hope that you've enjoyed that. I hope it's given you some inspiration to try some projects of your own, and yeah, just giving you some ideas on where you can find me next. So Gala Shields, end of May, open day 20th of April, and hopefully back on here before too long. I will leave you guys there. Thank you so much for watching, and take care.